That's Rob from Property Investments UK, and in today's video we're going to be looking at serviced accommodation and 3 quite often common problems that some landlords, some investors kind of run into if they try and start up serviced accommodation from scratch. So we know about all of the kind of the benefits of serviced accommodation and how it can really help add value to your portfolio and give you some fantastic returns on investments. But there are some downsides that some investors can kind of come a cropper on in Nepal if they're trying to maybe do it themselves or haven't got any experience of serviced accommodation. They just like the idea of it, but when they get started, they run into a little bit of difficulty. So we were looking at kind of so location, for example, is one of them. I think some people think that serviced works
anywhere. And it is, and I think experience is the key word there, because if you've got a friend who is in central London and is making a fortune out of Airbnb, they're based in Ruislip, for example, it's not quite the same, and the experience in doing it is massive, because if you don't have the location, you don't have the tenants, you fall out of a routine of doing it, and you could end up with just an empty flat. Yeah,
you kind of negates the whole point of even considering in the first place. If you want something where it's simple, it's very easy and centralised kind of setup, that's why buy-to-let kind of sometimes appeals to some landlords. Because they look at it and say, right, just want one property, just let that run, give it to a local letting agent and let it kind of go. You can still get those benefits with serviced accommodation. It's just you need to have the right things kind of in place that we spoke about in some of the other videos. But I think location is a common pitfall, because some people either try and tweak their existing properties to make it match, and then they run into difficulty with finding the right tenants and things like that, or they buy in the wrong area with the idea of doing service, and then it doesn't work. And very often where we see that happening is with a landlord that wants to maybe do it themselves, but also if they just want to say, well, I've got a letting agent and they know how to manage my existing professional tenants, so I'll just give it to them. I'll buy a flat on the market with Rightmove, or they can go and find any property and just give it to their current local letting agent. But I think that experience of service accommodation and corporate lets is massive, isn't it? Like every letting agent knows how to kind of do it. An area doesn't work.
Absolutely. And also, it's the area, but also if you have got an apartment and then you look to turn it into a service accommodation, you have then got to back to the issues. Does your lease allow you to do this? Does your mortgage that you've got on this property allow you to do this? Because if they don't, then you run into a world of trouble with it. It's not just as simple as saying, if the bank find out that you're subletting, which effectively I guess is what you are doing, then they can pull everything on you.
So you're buying, you find the right property, you're buying the right area, you think everything's kind of working, but if you've not considered the lease aspect of the building that you're in, or you're not considered, if you're buying it with a finance product, what those kind of aspects can kind of come into play as well. So.
And then and on top of that, you got the location, and voids are a big thing. Because if someone's doing it themselves, they are more than likely they've got to go down the route of Airbnb. On booking.com, they've got to go on the short terms, because they really don't have access. One person hasn't got access to a relocation expert. It's not going to happen. And then in the world of social media now, if you're not very good at managing your service model, your meets and greets and being 24/7, then it's review based, and that's going to have an effect as well. So that's why we're dedicated to what we do, because we've done it well and we know what we're looking for. And if it was that easy, then we wouldn't have a model to give out, because everyone will be doing it.
A lot of competition.
So there's so many factors, which we try and incorporate. And even on the finance side, we'll deal with independent mortgage brokers that we can give you advice, because it's not just as simple as going to your local bank on the high street and saying, right, this is what I'm looking to do, you can have a mortgage.
There's loads more challenger banks, there's loads more options out there when it comes to kind of finance.
Which a lot of people don't know about, but they are there, and they're just as, if not more competitive than what people are used to.
It's just about having those contacts that can open up those doors for you. And I think that's where the common pitfalls for serviced accommodation can kind of, unfortunately, impact some people's portfolios when they try and get started in serviced if they've not considered them. So things like finance and stuff, there are financing options for them, but financing changes all the time. So it's a case of speaking to your brokers, having access to the right brokers, the right contacts to see what financing options you can do. Making sure that the lease on the property, the license, the freehold and management company and stuff is structured and allows you to do serviced accommodation, and then also even just having access to the right kind of tenants, the right corporates and relocation agents, things like that. So there are some common problems that you might find in service, but they're certainly overcomable. And if you have the right team in place, if you look for something that's got the kind of the right structure and comes at it from the right angle, that's where I guess the letting agent aspect and the background that you guys have just beats a developer trying to do this because they don't have those contacts, they don't have that kind of
Absolutely.
experience and stuff.
You know, and you will get the odd person saying, because obviously we have a fee for what we do, you know, say, well, why should we charge you when we're doing it ourselves? And sometimes you just want to try, because at the end of the day, is it going to be worth it for 1% more for the amount of hassle that's going to be involved and what you're going to have to do for it? You know, what we charge is quite low considering the amount of work there is on the background, because the individual, the client, will never see that work, because all they want to do is, quite rightly, sat at home, their investment is only growing in appreciation, producing a good return, and they're not having any hassle with it whatsoever or any dealings with it.
Yeah, and I think it's a mindset thing. Like when I first started my portfolio, we were very hands-on with the rentals aspects of it, partly because we wanted to save some money, wanted to try and do it ourselves, wanted to try and learn the market. But as you progress, as you start to understand the different models, it just makes so much sense, even from a kind of business point of view, tax point of view, to use other professionals, people with experience within that industry, rather than trying to be just kind of hands-on, doing everything in the business. So there are some common pitfalls, but they're easy to overcome, and hopefully the kind of combination of what benefits are with service. You can see kind of if you use the right kind of teams and things, you can set it up very nicely, and service can be a great addition to your current portfolio. So hope that helps. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this content and you'd like to join our free online property training course, we've got a link for it on this page. And in there we cover a range of different property strategies to help you get started, either building a long-term property portfolio or creating a cash-flowing property business. We also look at ways to increase your return on investment with any of the properties you're maybe considering. And we also have a couple of cheat sheets and downloadable documents in there as well. Simply click on the link to join the free training course today.